sand. And this is really, you can feel this as you make that circle, the inner arch really active, right? Drawing up and using the muscles in the inner foot, right? Actually, the ankles are playing a big role here as well. And let me just say, I'm going to stop and I'm going to bring the block back in here because my knees want to roll out. So if you find that that was happening, bring the block back so you can stay stable, lift the balls of the feet, open them, and then make that circle using the block. Stabilizing your spine, keeping your neck neutral, and just keeping your breath moving as you do this. Maybe you can slow down and coordinate each inhale and exhale with a circle. So it starts to burn rather quickly as far as the musculature goes around my ankle and my feet. Maybe you feel it in your hips, maybe you feel it in your legs. So the combination with this, right, as we sweep in for the pronating, countering the pronation, people who overpronate, is to pause. Oh my gosh, give yourself a moment. When you breathe in all the way to your feet, as though to bring pranic life force, energy, spaciousness to these areas. So we were pulling the balls of the feet in, so the heels do the exact opposite for helping correct overpronation. Because usually if you overpronate, what happens is your heels pull out, so now we need to make the feet draw them back in. So, and I believe those are the correct words, but what we were doing was pulling the balls of the feet in. So now we're going to roll the heels against the wall and then pull them. So we're pushing them out, right? Out and then bringing them in, out and then bringing them in. So if you were at the beach in the sand, and I have to give my leg a minute here. If you're at the beach in the sand, you're digging a heel, the hole with your heels now. But keeping the balls of the feet on the wall. Coordinate, stabilize, do all of the little things that we've been practicing here. And if it becomes too much, you could go as small as it being in your imagination. Your imagination can really serve you with some of this work when you know that you have, when it's too much, you can't quite do it. Just imagine it. You could actually make your heels do this. And it can be deeper work in your hips, deeper work in your knees. As I had just stopped and moved my heels smaller. Maybe I can't do them quite as big. But guess where I feel it? In the weaker abducting muscle group here. When I'm making it smaller. When I'm making it bigger, it's around my calves, the gastrocnemius, all the muscles like bungee cords that come up from my ankles and connect to my knees and then all the way up into my hips. So big is good if you can handle it, but small is good too, so try both. Woo! And this is intense. Does everybody agree?
Yes.
It may look easy, but it is very intense. So if you've never done this work, I beg you to give it a try, because you'll find that you've recruited different non-habitual movement to your repertoire of movement. And we want to move, these bodies were gifted to us. These are like vehicles for us to move through this life. And why not have them working optimally? Why not have them working the best we can? Give that all just a moment. I'm going to move the block. I'm going to bring my knees in and then open them. I might even find Happy Baby here, because Happy Baby seems like it's what I want. And maybe as I straightenish one leg, I lean maybe a little bit to that side and then come back to middle, straightenish the other leg. And then you could even go both legs, right, depending on you. Doesn't matter whether you have a full straight leg. What you want to do right now is just feel and sense how deep you want to go. You can also bring the soles of the feet together. Make them one unit and bring the toes towards your heart. Good. Maybe up towards your head. Maybe down towards your tail. Push the knees away. Good. Let's go back for that second direction, working more on the longitudinal or the longitudinal arch, but it is the one that most people would call a supination. Good. It is a natural phenomenon, but when we get stuck there, that's the problem. And I do both because, again, I had one heel that I kind of leaned over, so I supinated, no wait, this is the one I pronated on and this is the one I supinated on. So I was like that. So then I had to figure out how to walk more evenly. Good, and so that's mechanics that we're not going to get into today, but I definitely teach that. Good, so the opposite is exactly how we target the other direction. So take the heels and keep them connected, and then this time we're going to sweep out. And you might take enough of your awareness in reserve so that you can feel the difference between the two sides, right? If there is a big difference, you know, which foot was it easier to work on the supination and which foot is it easier to work on the pronation? Or maybe both feet are in the same category. Really be very precise as to sweeping the foot, keeping the toes relaxed, keeping your core actively stable, and keeping your breath moving through your body. All of this practice will help you to live a little bit more lighter. These habits become, you know, deep-seated, and this is what we want. We want a stable core. We want to move through the body non-habitually. We want to do very efficient breathing in our life. So we're going for fatigued, but when you're ready, I will say this is enough. If you feel like you need to do more on this action, try to remember it, because this is good to do every, you know, once a week or once every month. And in the beginning, if you need it a lot, once every day would be okay. Pause. Take a deep, clearing breath. Find your center. Remember, this isn't easy work, but what we're going to do is the exact opposite of what we just did. So we were sweeping the balls of the feet out. So now the heels sweep in, and I don't know why, but this is the hardest action for me. So I'm going to lift my heels, take them out, and sweep them in. The balls stay on the wall, the balls of the feet. And then we want to be pretty precise as to how, right, so what we're doing is, right, there's a joint, and in every joint there's a little bit of a bone that should be circular or round and be able to glide inside of a joint, right? So this is where the body actually, if everything is open and healthy, the whole body is capable of gliding and springing, if you will. So if you have this resistance somewhere, then there's obviously some range of motion that hasn't been utilized correctly. And this is how the joints break down. You know, over time, if you're not using a joint and maybe the bone starts to rub on top of another bone, this is how arthritis occurs, and this is how the need for replacements occur. You know, we haven't started to do, you know, toe replacement, joint replacement, and foot joint replacements, but we sure got those big joints happening in the ankle, not the ankles, the knees and the hips, right? Even in the shoulders, I believe, we can replace the joints, which isn't with natural tissue, but with, you know, metal and plastics. So maybe, since the body is always searching for healing and homeostasis, maybe we can replace through the work, through the intention, through the breath. Slower, and remember that I'm going to go back to, because it's so hard for me right now, I'm going to go back to really small, and or so small that now it's in my imagination. Woo! Everybody with me? Did I get a dropping off of the peeps? Good, just a few more please, just a few more. Small as your imagination. And then maybe make it a little bigger, and maybe a little bigger or a little smaller depending on you. So small that nobody can even see what you're doing. And let it go. I threw the block, sorry. I'm gonna hug the knees, roll my head up, so really draw back through the navel. If you'd like, you can extend those legs up, rolling into plow pose if that's an option for you. Really dig the toes into the feet or hands or to the ground and push through the heels there. That's only if it's in your practice. If not, you can just really pull the heels up. You can even be on your back to do that. Spread your toes. Come to happy baby again. Open the groin, the knees. Maybe straighten-ish the legs. Go back to closed. Bring the feet together. Good. And then from there, like we're wounded. Because right now, how is it going to feel to actually stand up on these feet? I'm going to go ahead and come to the knees. And we're going to actually stretch from here for right now. And let me see kind of how time we have for the repatterning work. Okay, so coming to your knees, I'm going to have you curl your toes under. And I want you to sit back onto the toes if you can. Now if you have injury, if something is preventing that, rather than forcing, just go a little bit like so. And you can also add in, remember what we did before, the pushing of the heel. And I don't know if I even got to both feet like that. So this is an option, and you just do it to the point that you can, and then you breathe there, okay? So those of you that can turn the toes under and put some of the weight into the feet, into the balls of the feet, you might be able to roll up and come into Navasana or a squat, right? So you're really now, you're putting the pressure into the feet as far as stretching it goes after that work. You could even look at your toes. If they're not pointing in the right direction here, you could actually come and create space in between the toes. Okay, you could also come back to the knees. I'm going to uncurl the toes, the tops of the feet, and then put my weight there. And we did this once before, but as you scoop up through your pelvic floor, maybe you use your fingers, you can lift your knees here. This will give a really intense stretch to the front of the feet. And then you can go back and forth a few times. This time I'm going to open up my feet a little wider as I move into Malasana. Maybe I can let my heels come down. And this is all an option. Did you start to get cramps? Yeah, it's not unusual. Good, if your heels come down all the way, great. If not, you're going to come back to the tops of the feet. One more time in that action. Oops, and I was getting one too. Got to be careful, especially after all that work. You really turn on different muscles that sometimes when they haven't been used and they start to turn on, well, they cramp up because they've been laxed for so long. Now they're going, ah! So that's my scientific explanation. Good, from here we'll take a down dog. So everybody, if you can take down dog, I am going to step my feet a little wider, so I'm not on my yoga mat, but that's okay. Spin the elbows towards each other. Get into the middle of the center of your body. Really scoop your pelvic floor, corset your ribs. And as you push out through your hands, pull back through the ankles. The heels don't necessarily need to be pushed down to the ground, but rather drawn to the wall behind you. Use the calves and the hamstrings, the quads, and the pectorals. So you're opening and lengthening all simultaneously. Cool. And then you'll step forward, take a nice forward fold, find the four corners of your feet, round your back over your thighs as you bend your knees. And let your head and neck be as free as possible, your spine as free as possible. As you start to straighten the legs, keep heavy through the head. You could even use your hands clasping each elbow to add extra weight for lengthening of your spine. Notice if you roll on the inner or outer edges of your feet. Bend the knees and stack the vertebrae up one at a time. Let the pelvic floor draw up, navel center back and up, and then the throat back and up as you elongate through the crown of your head and find the chin parallel with the ground, the feet in four corners. Good, relax your arms alongside your torso and turn your thumbs so that they point forward. And just lean a little bit forward and a little bit back. And a little bit right and left. And then pull up and push down simultaneously. Pull up with the head. Push down through the feet. And find that you might have this perfect center. The center of you actually in charge, somewhere in the middle of this lower belly. Lower back. Good. And then from there, just shake out your hands, shake out your feet a little bit. And because we don't have time for the repatterning, I am going to, I think that we should take Shavasana and let the body kind of recover. The repatterning has to do with, well, let's just do a little bit of it on each. So what I like is for everyone to have something to stand against, and all of you do, but I don't in the camera shot. So what I think I'm going to do is just turn the camera towards that wall. Good, and we'll just take a few minutes here. Good, so as you're here, you're going to hold your weight, or hold the wall so that you take the balancing act out of it. I'm going to take 1 foot behind me. And please just do this in your imagination first. I want you to imagine lifting your heel off the ground. And then relaxing it down. And then lifting the heel. So it's the heel that you're standing on, not the heel behind you. So you're just imagining lifting the heel and then lowering it down. You just do it 3 times. Now we'll breathe in or out, and we'll imagine lifting the ball of the foot off the ground and relaxing it. Lifting the ball of the foot off the ground and relaxing. Lifting it off and relaxing. Good. Now take it to the inner edge of the foot. What would it take to roll to the outer edge and lift the inner edge? And please do it in your imagination. Don't actually do it. So we're lifting the inner edge, relaxing. Inner edge, relaxing. Inner edge, relaxing. Good. Now outer edge, relaxing. So you relax to the middle. So you're imagining rolling off the outer edge and coming back to neutral. Outer edge, neutral. Outer edge, neutral. Good. Now the leg gets fatigued, whether you realize it or not. So give it a little shake. Stand on the other leg and give it a little shake. Shake, 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 shake. Breathing simultaneously. Good. So now finding the other leg, or the same leg. This time, I'm going to have you do it again, but this time, lift the heel lower. Lift, if it lifts. If not, just do it in your imagination. Lift, lower. Now the ball of the foot. Can you actually lift the toes and then roll off the ball of the foot? Up, down. If it doesn't actually go, now these fingers are here just to help me stabilize. I'm trying to keep a core strength, so you're not leaning in any way. You keep your crown of your head over your tailbone. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Good. So you're lifting it up and taking neutral. Up, neutral, up, neutral. Now do the same thing. Can you lift the inner edge and come to neutral? Inner edge, neutral. Inner edge, neutral. Outer edge, neutral. Outer edge, neutral. So you might feel where your dysfunction actually lies when you walk. Because what happens when we walk now, same leg, if it's not fatigued, I want you to make a circle with the ankle so that you can feel heel, outer edge, ball of the foot, inner edge, heel, outer edge. So I'm making a clockwise circle, stop and make a counterclockwise circle. As you're making this circle, do you have enough attention to notice, are you making a circle in your kneecap, in your knee joint? And what about your hip joint? And is it a precise circle? Stop and go in the other direction. Right? Because sometimes our circles, like you can have a circle in a joint, but we'll slice it off. That was the stuff I was talking about earlier. Very good. Take a moment in between the sides. Now, for the sake of not having to change around and I don't have the right wall, I'm just going to change the foot. So now it's the right foot. I'm going to situate my body weight over that right foot. The left foot's like a little kickstand. And again, I'm going to imagine lifting my heel, lowering it. I'm going through this pretty quickly because I want you guys to be able to have a new pattern to walk with when you leave here. So lift, lower, lift, lower, lift.